Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
You all ready for this? Dun 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 dun.
No. Y'all, just stop.
A sham.
Welcome to DBL. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Al Jackson just snuck up on stage.
Yeah.
I was looking at my
Looking
cards.
nice with the purple regal.
I move. That's a shout out to Jere, our stylist. But you know, I just slide in here on the loan. But you guys look amazing. It's good to see y'all.
Good to see you,
Hope
buddy.
You had a good long weekend.
Yeah, we had a great time. We were chatting a little bit earlier about our weekend. You have a good weekend?
I did. I just rode all weekend. So not as exciting, but you know, I like it.
All right, well, let's get to it, guys. So the movie Don't Worry, Darling is stirring up some drama behind the scenes. Have you guys seen this? Director Olivia Wilde posed on the red carpet with the cast, including her boyfriend Harry Styles, at the Venice Film Festival this weekend. During a press event, Olivia downplayed the alleged feud between her and co-star Florence Pugh as, quote, tabloid gossip. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. Nobody cares.
That color.
Everyone is talking about Harry Styles and whether he spat on co-star Chris Pine. So it happened when Harry walked into the theater, look at this, to sit next to Chris. Some say he spat on him. Here's again in slow motion. And if you notice, Chris Pine's reaction after the alleged spit, he kind of stops. So something went down. We don't know what. Some people on Twitter noticed this woman capturing the moment with her phone and are calling for her to release the footage. This is like the JFK assassination. Yeah. They did that. We did it on site. Yeah. So what did you guys see this earlier?
But I think like spitting on somebody is like the top tier of disrespect. It's disgusting. It's like you have no home training at all. Like I would hope that.
But you think he did? Are you saying that he?
I'm hoping that he is a better human being than that. Have made it this far in life.
This is why I think he did. And Erica, I want to know what you think about this. There's a moment where if somebody does something like that, spits on you, intentionally steps on your foot, does something disrespectful, you pause, because when he stopped clapping, that's when you start running through, am I ready to ruin my career right now by assaulting this human being? Because every guy's like, I do not want to do this, but something just happened, and I felt like he was gathering himself, so he did not do something that would forever affect the trajectory of his career.
Yeah, this is deep.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
This is real deep. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Do you think he did spit on him?
Well, it certainly appears that something happened just based on Chris's reaction alone. I agree with Al.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You can see the pause where he's like, should I just throw it all away right now and just?
I might have. I don't know the reaction from that, but you know, especially with the Oscar thing, if someone spit on me at my premiere because you're dating it might get physical. I'm just saying. It's not the right answer.
I was saying, like, you're willing to, they won then. You're willing to ruin everything, probably your career, because if they can't prove the spit, you now assaulted somebody at an event, right? So you're willing to do all that. I know how mad anybody would be.
Yeah.
But that's just like, that's when the other person has really won, because now they sabotaged you in a way that they probably won.
I mean, I don't know how, maybe we get the video from the lady behind there, like we said. But if this is true, and he did do that, you're right, Chris Pine's going to come out on top because he didn't do anything. This is really, in my mind, going to affect Harry Styles moving forward if it comes out that he did spit on this man.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's just so uncouth.
And it's also
Like,
illegal. I believe spitting, especially spitting in somebody's face, it's considered assault.
Yeah.
So like you would be in being justified in defending yourself. You just don't want it to get there. But I think if somebody spits in your face, we can all sit on this nice panel and say we would hope. But if somebody spits on your face in front on a great day like this, I don't know if anybody knows how they react. You know, you've worked your whole career.
I know how I would react, so it's best.
He handled it like a gentleman.
There's been a precedent.
Woo. Next time,
that's a rough one.
Next time someone spits on me, I'm going to be like, what's uncouth mean? Yeah, then I won't worry about the spit. I'll be like,
black families say uncouth. My mom said uncouth.
What does uncouth mean?
Just like improper, like and improper, like you're not.
No home training, man.
Yeah.
It's really like no top to bottom.
I'm bringing it into vocabulary.
There we go.
A lack of decorum.
I'm going to tell my kids, why are you being so uncouth? Sounds very grown up. All right. Brendan Fraser also made his return to the red carpet in Venice for the premiere of his new film, The Whale. So Brendan received a 6-minute standing ovation after the film. He was then encouraged by the film's director to move into the aisle to take a bow, as you can see here. Clearly, He was overcome with emotion and tears. I love that.
Oh,
Brendan
man.
plays a reclusive 600-pound professor in the movie, which is his first major role in 20 years. Wow, what a moment for him to come back like that, and apparently he knocked it out of the park, right?
Yeah, I looked at that and just saw the bow that he took. And first of all, Brendan Fraser has a special place in my heart because I used to show The Mummy all the time when I was a middle school teacher. He like symbolized the end of the school year for my kids, and so I've always appreciated him. I've always wondered where he went, Erica. Right. But I'm glad that he's back, and just kind of for things to come full circle, because a lot of people don't get that moment. A lot of people, you have a couple movies, and that's a great. If you do one movie, Jeff, you've done a couple. That's amazing. So to be able to have a career and then be recognized by your peers at the top, at the upper echelon, it's a big deal.
Well, it's also the ability to come back knowing that who you were has changed in the eyes of the culture, maybe changed in your eyes as well. I mean, Brendan Fraser came on the scene as like a heartthrob, and we know that in Hollywood people get aged out and recycled and put by the wayside.
3 summers.
And then also, it's not even so much that. It's also not the ability to just leave gracefully. People have to make it a story and make you feel bad about not being the person that you were coming on the scene. And we're all humans. We're going to evolve, and there's going to be a lot of different things we're going to go through. And he had an ability to come back as himself, you know, to really tap into some of that pain and some of the things that he experienced through this character.
Yeah, speaking of pain, before you go, Lindsay, I just want to say, he said the mummy, which you mentioned, destroyed his body. Right? Wow. He kind of blames that for the weight gain and things like that. So he said it destroyed his body. He also revealed that he was a victim of sexual assault in 2003 by the president of the Hollywood Foreign Press. So it's alleged right now, but there's a couple reasons why I don't want to be in this business anymore. He's got some legit complaints, right?
It's hard when you're doing what you do in front of an audience, because like anybody else at home, you know, they can go ahead and leave their jobs or move on and do different things in private. And he kind of is like, okay, people are waiting to see what's next. So it's an extra added layer of pressure. But I'm just happy he's getting this opportunity because he deserves it.
Everybody deserves a comeback, right?
Right?
That's right.
That's right. All right. So these two don't need a comeback. Julia Roberts and George Clooney admit that kissing on screen in their new movie was a bit of a struggle. So in Ticket to Paradise, the actors play a divorced couple who band together to stop their daughters from getting married. In real life, the two have been good friends for years. We all know that. George told the New York Times his wife Amal wasn't impressed when he said it took 80 takes to film a kiss with Julia, and Julia said 79 of those takes were them laughing, and one of them made the movie, and that was them kissing. Would you guys have a hard time making out with Al for a movie?
Very much so. Yes.
I can't even look at her.
I can't even.
I wanted to make it uncomfortable. It got real uncomfortable up here. They didn't even look at each other. Did you see them? They were looking the other way.
It's also like you want to help your friend out. So if they said, okay, who do you recommend for this role? Of course I would say Jeff or Al, but also in that moment I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is just, you know, just ruining everything. Like, I'd rather it be somebody random, but you also want to help your friend.
Yeah, you just got to do it. You just got to go in there and do it.
I think you should probably talk the night before, like, all right, we have to go to a different place in our mind.
All the way over there.
Honestly, like, I would just be like, not even like picture somebody else. I'd be like, just sometimes when you're at the dentist and they're starting to hit a sensitive spot and you don't want to tell them, you're just like, I'm just like, I always go to like me climbing the side of a hill. I don't know why. That's my happy place. So if I had to kiss Erica or Lindsay, I love y'all. They're my sisters.
It has to be believable though. If you go to another side of your mind, everybody's like, what type of kiss was that?
Let's do it. So romantic. Oh no. Yes.
It'd be weird. You know what would weird me out is like the kissing wouldn't weird me out. It's like maybe if I put my hand like and I held your hand, you know, and then while you're kissing, like is Jeff like holding my hand too? So then it's like, oh, now you're really in your emotions. You know, you're really in your feelings.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad with us that like people will like make comments about like you or Al, and I'm like, is he hot? Like, it's so bad. Like I'm like I don't see it, but I see it.
I
but
totally
I don't
get what you mean.
See it, you know.
Yeah.
So
you
I'm like,
put them in the brother category, so people lose hotness if they're just becoming
sure. For sure. You can't have that.
Jeff, I was going to ask you, did you have any trouble? You've done some on-screen kissing. Any trouble with any of those?
I didn't know them before, but then this latest movie that I did, you know, I got to know the girl, and like every scene, there was like someone was passed away, and she was my wife, and she's like, you know, rubbing on me or like, and I was like, oh, we're doing a movie. But I'm like, dude, what? Like, it's so weird. It feels weird. But you have to just like hold it or hold hands for the movie. Then afterwards, you're like, what are we doing? All right. It is weird. It is weird, but you got to get it done. Coming up on DBL, our interview with Sherry O'Terry. She's telling us all about her new movie and what it was like playing Barbara Walters on SNL. And a new Vogue cover featuring Jennifer Lawrence. She's getting very real about motherhood. That's coming up next.
Closed captioning provided by
Hey, just stopping by to say we're taking over. We're mad all day. We're taking over. You know what time it is. We're taking over.
Okay. And we didn't get a chance to get to the Jane Fonda non-Hodgkin story. Sadly, one of my really close friends from high school. Shout out to Mike Lane. He passed away at 39 from that. It was out of nowhere, and it just kind of goes to show. Both his parents were physicians, and it just it's one of those things. Jeff, I believe Mario Lemieux had that as well.
Did he really?
Yes, I think he did. Well, he had what? He just had Hodgkin's. Yeah. Okay. So the Canadian knows. Yeah, there she goes.
Oh, you
I
did?
love it. Oh, so you had?
Yeah.
Why am I talking about it?
But Kieran, you know what I'm thinking in my mind right now.
The good or the bad?
Right, exactly. I don't know if we should be talking about that. If you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, your mind goes to somewhere else. But yeah, so I don't even know technically what the difference is.
It's very treatable, and she feels lucky to have access to quality health care. She's 85, and she's starting a 6-month stint of chemotherapy.
She seems very hopeful from the script, like what I read. She seems very hopeful.
And a lot of people that, I don't know if we've interviewed them here or if I've watched them myself, but people who have gone through cancer treatments say a lot of it is also your mindset too. To just be in a space where I'm going to get through this. And like, obviously there's some things you can't control, but having that is definitely helpful.
Yeah,
because
right.
Otherwise you kind of just shrink into it, which is easy to do because, that's
I remember
a tough thing to
seeing
balance.
that with Stuart Scott. Remember Stuart Scott, who sadly passed away at ESPN? I remember they were just showing him, he was doing like MMA training or whatever
he was
it was called.
living
He was living. He worked out right up until the end. So I mean, it's all about your mentality, and I think a lot of people look at the way that he battled that disease, and that's the one thing I'm hoping to change is that it doesn't go from like they succumb to the disease. I feel like there's a dignity about living your life right up to the end, whenever it is.
I think a lot of those guys do a great job at that.
Yeah,
if that's the proper
just
term.
the dignity is such an important thing.
DBL is kicking off our season 6 premiere with the one and only Jerry Springer. Jerry. Live on the panel as our special guest co-host. September 12th and 13th on DBL.
Welcome back. Jennifer Lawrence is opening up about becoming a new mom. Speaking to Vogue, Jennifer revealed the name of her son, Sai. She admitted her friends warned her that she may not fall in love with her child right away, but Jennifer said as soon as she gave birth, she felt it was, quote, day one of my life. So Jennifer also said that she had suffered 2 previous miscarriages, one in her early 20s and one while she was married. She said she had intended to get an abortion during her first pregnancy and said she can't fathom the idea of young women being forced into motherhood. So it's kind of 2 stories. We could kind of go either way.
Almost 3 different.
Yeah, let's start at the top. How did you feel about having your first child? Did you feel like, I don't know if I'm going to love her, or was it love at first sight, or did you love her before she even came?
Well, first I have to address how good those looks were.
Okay, let's go there.
That was like a top tier styling. She looked really good. But even especially as a new mother, I know like the whole comeback body and everything is a whole different thing if you want to get into that. But when you first have your baby, like a lot of people told me you could have tons of different feelings. Close friends of mine dealt with postpartum depression. Some people were happy immediately. For me, I was just like so kind of just blown away that I can't even explain the feeling, but I was really nervous when I had Kinsley and we were leaving the hospital. Like I wanted to stay there for like 2 weeks because people came to check on you like every 2 minutes, and I felt very
there's
safe.
somebody already in your room.
Right. Yeah. But Colin on that cot was like, well, I'm gonna head out, so what do you want to do? So we both left after like 3 days, but I wanted to just stay as long as possible because people were like, use that, if you feel comfortable at the hospital and with your doctor, like stay there as long as possible. So I know that I felt like life changed as soon as I left the hospital and was home, and I was like, oh my gosh, gosh, now I have like 24 hours to figure out, and then that turns into 48. And slowly, everyone said it gets easier. And I think at the 6-month mark, I was really like, I got this. And I feel good. I feel good now that she's a year.
Everybody has that feeling of like, wow, I'm responsible for this thing for the rest of its life.
It doesn't make sense. The craziest
It's not even like it's like your kid, but I think everyone feels that way, right?
And there is, we have online now. First of all, shout out to any generation that came before us that did not have Google to go to with things. But, you know, I think about all the things that she tried to unpack in this interview, talking about the miscarriages, which is so common, but yet it just is still not talked about regularly. And then the postpartum, and her friends at least giving her a heads up that might be an option. And I think now we've done a lot of talk about postpartum on this show, and I hope anybody watching will tell their daughter, their grandkid, or themselves like that if you're feeling different, that's okay. Other people have done that as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I've just, my friends, pretty much all of my friends have kids now. We don't have kids. I'm not able to physically have kids. Like, I don't have fallopian tubes. So that's something that, like, when I think about the idea of like structuring a family, like, there's so many different ways of going about it, and I want people to stay very hopeful that if they are interested in becoming a mom, that there are a lot of different ways that can happen and look. But I mean, I appreciate like everybody's journey, and I appreciate hearing about it, and like, if it's something that's for me, then it'll be for me, and if it's not, I have such amazing kiddos all around me, in every aspect, and it's cool. Like, I'm cool with being rich auntie is really my vibe.
And Erica, I paid you a compliment earlier too. We were in our neighborhood over the weekend, and Erica, she's being modest. You have 5 children under CASA. You're in this great organization. They happen to be at that event and watch you and your husband, and they're like, Anthony, what's he like? What amazing guy? What's Erica like? And they were so in awe with you, and so am I. You have 5 kids, so you're right. There is a lot of different avenues to take, but I wanted to pay you that compliment on here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
And also, Rich Auntie is going to be the name of the next big rapper. How is that not a name already?
All right, Rich Auntie will be right back.
Yeah.
Leading up to Labor Day, many pro-union groups and politicians were posting about unions, claiming support for them is at historic highs. They're referring to a recent Gallup poll, which shows 71% of Americans approve of labor unions. It's the highest percentage since 1965. But is that support for unions translating into an increase in actual union membership? Let's verify. Our sources, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Harvard Business School, and Nelson Lichtenstein, a labor historian at UC Santa Barbara. Since 1983, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has tracked what percentage of American workers are in a union. And in 2021, it was 10.3%. That's actually an all-time low. It did slightly increase in 2020, but that was because when COVID hit and layoffs ensued, they disproportionately affected non-union workers, whereas a higher percentage of unionized workers kept their jobs. When the recovery began and non-union workers returned, the percentage went back down. Harvard has data going back even further, which shows a membership peak of more than 30% in the early 60s, but it's been steadily declining ever since. So we can verify, no, an increase in support for unions has not translated into an increase in union membership. Labor historian Nelson Lichtenstein says that's not surprising.
There is no correlation between popular support for unionism and the actual growth of unions.
He says in the mid-20th century, it was generally accepted that the preeminent industries of the time, like automaking, were almost entirely unionized. But over time, membership declined for a variety of reasons. And now in today's biggest industries like tech, there's no cultural expectation of organized labor. That is changing in some sectors, though, where unions have formed at companies like Starbucks and Amazon. But whether that movement will spread further and increase overall union membership for the long haul remains to be seen. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back. Sherry O'Terry made us laugh on SNL, and now she is joined by an amazing cast for Comedy Central's new movie about working from home. Earlier, she told us about her video call struggles, which we could all relate. Check it out.
Welcome to DBL.
Yes. Tell me
Sherry, was there an SNL sketch that was somewhat challenging but worth it in the end? Because you did what I love was the physical part, and I'm such a physical comedian. I really look up to you. What was the hardest one for you? The most worth it?
Well, the hardest one was not physical. It was, I would have to say, probably doing Barbara Walters, because I didn't go in doing any impressions, but I was kind of strongly made to do her, and oh God, and I just knew that I had to have like a different take on it, and you know, Gilda was so iconic doing her, and once I did do her and the audience kind of like accepted it, I had more fun doing her than ever. And that picture, that was one of the highlights of my career, was getting to interview her as her.
Yeah, right. I used to just love watching those skits way back, you know, when, and like how even like the lighting would be all blurred. Right. You were so good. Okay, but we got to talk about your new movie. A lot of people are anticipating it. It's called Out of Office. Now, based on the trailer, this is my interpretation. It seems like you play the tough love mom. Is that true? Tell us more about your character.
Oh my gosh. It's, first of all, I'm doing it with Jason Alexander, who is a doll, and he made me laugh. Yes, it's good cop, bad cop. I'm definitely bad cop, and it's really funny to be bad cop and then see Jason Alexander as the softie dad. But yeah, we are trying to get her out of the house because we're moving, actually, and all I want to do is go to Paris, and I just want this girl to get a job and be able to take care of herself so I can go to Paris without guilt. But I think she's going to go to Paris with or without guilt.
It's almost like, you know, the NBA All-Star Game. There's it's such a crazy cast. There's so many incredible comics. Like, what is like, who made you laugh? Because there's like guys that make the people in the industry laugh. So who's the comic in the back of the room in that setting?
Oh my God, they all made me laugh, and I'll say, like, you know, Leslie and Ken together, whoever thought of that is just brilliant. I mean, those two together, it's just so funny on so many levels, and they were so funny. Everybody was, you know, I mean, the whole cast. I watched the movie the other day, and I was just like, this is so fun. And it really does reflect what the past 2 years have been like with people working from home.
So speaking about that, you just mentioned it's about working from home. We all know about the embarrassing things that could happen during a video call. We had them happen to us over the past 2 years. What did you have to deal with during a video call?
Well, I so related to being a dog mommy.
Yes.
Tori, that's you.
For me, it's the dogs. And the funny thing is, someone said to me once, you know, Sherry, you can press your mute button, and I never thought about that.
Right. Guilty.
I never thought about, so I would just be like, I'm talking and shut up! I'm in a meeting! Which, of course, is way worse than the barking.
Now you're louder than the bark.
But I never even thought to press my mute button, and I was like, oh my God, of course.
Sherry, it was so great having you here. Thank you for making us laugh. Speaking of laughter, you guys have to check out of Office on Comedy Central. Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome. Mwah, mwah.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
DBL is kicking off our season 6 premiere on September 12th with the one and only Jerry Springer.
Jerry. My wife is saying now they should start chanting your address so you know how to get home.
The talk show legend will be joining us live on the panel as our special guest co-host. Don't miss a day with Jerry.
Jerry.
September 12th and 13th on DBL.
The U.S. Department of Education could have its application for student loan forgiveness up and running within the next few weeks. But there are a few steps to take now. Let's connect the dots. You can receive up to $10,000 if you didn't receive a Pell Grant, which is a type of aid available to low-income undergraduate students. And if you did get the grant, you can get up to $20,000. According to officials, borrowers may start to see their balances reduced or eliminated by the end of the year. So what steps can you take now to get ready for the changes? First, make sure you qualify based on income. The relief will be limited to borrowers who make less than $125,000 per year, or married couples earning less than $250,000. Education leaders also say be sure to gather your records. It's not exactly clear what the application for student loan forgiveness will look like, but it's a good idea to have relevant information on hand. Last but not least, stay up to date with the process. You can do so by visiting the Education Department's website. And remember, once the application opens, you'll have until December 31st of next year to fill them out. And that's connecting the dots.
President Biden just announced a plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student debt for some people. When critics attacked the plan, the White House responded on Twitter by pointing out some of those critics had gotten even larger loans forgiven by the government. Those loans weren't student loans, they were Paycheck Protection Program loans. The PPP was created during the early stages of the pandemic to provide business owners with cash so they wouldn't have to lay off workers. According to the Treasury Department, as long as the loans were used to cover payroll, they could be, and often have been, forgiven. Recently, many people have claimed that the average forgiven PPP loan was much larger than the 10 to 20 grand in forgiveness that many students are now receiving. This tweet from Senator Bernie Sanders says the average amount of debt forgiveness to businesses was more than $95,000. So let's verify. Is the average amount forgiven for PPP loans greater than $20,000? Our sources, the Small Business Administration, the Department of Education, and the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee. That committee is a government agency tasked with tracking how pandemic relief funds get used. Out of a total 11.5 million PPP loans, more than 10 million were fully or partially forgiven. And the agency calculated that the average amount forgiven was $72,500. So where did Sanders get the 95,000 figure? Well, that was the average as of last year, when only about 4 million loans had been forgiven. Since then, millions of smaller loans have been processed, bringing the average down, according to the Small Business Administration. But when it comes to student loans, the max most people can get forgiven under Biden's plan is 20 grand. So even with the lower 72 grand figure for PPP loans, we can verify, yes, the average amount forgiven for PPP loans is greater than $20,000. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Hey, no time to run, no games. Your time's come today. Just stopping by to say we're taking over. We're made for this. We're taking over. You know what time it is. We're taking over. We're made to win.
DBL is all new every day. Yes!
Yes! I loved Al's hand rub. It was like,
that's his move. That's his move.
She said it looked like Birdman.
Birdman is. I'm not going to go into detail. You got to Google
hilarious.
it.
Before we go, I want to wish our son, a happy 4th birthday. Layton's turning 4 right now.
Happy birthday,
Yeah,
Layton.
is that crazy, Al?
I can't. Bro.
4? That's a DBL baby, too. That's crazy.
Goodness.
All right, buddy. I love you. Happy birthday. I'll be home soon. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.